Hi everyone, welcome. I'm down here in my wormery and I've done a little bit of reorganizing because I was able to clear out a couple bins that were just storing finished castings, and I was able to shuffle things into their rightful positions based on seniority. And the systems that we're going to be working on are amongst the oldest of my active systems, and they're the original red wigglers. It's been 11 days since we last checked in on these little guys, and we tried to change the way their coverings were applied, just like you see down here as an example. Usually the plastic goes all the way around and covers up the entire top surface, but here we thought it might be beneficial to allow the systems to get a little bit more airflow and possibly dry out a little bit. So after 11 days I'll be curious to see what that change to the coverings accomplished. We also fed small particle sized foods. They got coffee and worm chow, and they're going to get more of the same today. So I'm going to get a glove on, let's get these systems up on the bench, and we're going to get them fed. Like I mentioned earlier, 11 days since we last fed these little guys. Stuff they're getting is what's in here, a little bit of coffee, and my replenished supply of worm chow. The feeding we're giving them today is feeding number 25, and 280 days, that's definitely a nice age, 40 weeks. So let's see how the reduction of plastic coverings affected these systems. I saw one little worm hanging out in between the bubbles on the bubble wrap, and I saw another one over here, so I'll just rest those two up against each other, let them keep each other dry. So yeah, I got little snails. I see a whole bunch of them here scattered out across the top surface, probably coming up for the moisture. I see a couple over here and there. They're always cruising around very slowly, but if you take the time to look, you could see them buzzing around. And there's a bunch of them. I do wonder if the bins were left completely uncovered and all the material on the top surface was left to dry like this, what would become of the snails? I wonder if that would leave them with no place to be, and then they would just start fading away, maybe? I don't know, whatever. Let's see how this material out here on the edge feels where there was no plastic covering. Seems to crumble nicely. Over here in bin number 2. Here too, things feel nice. Despite the fact that the top surface was left to dry out a little bit, the material below it is full of worms, enjoying the moisture content, because there is good moisture content over there too. And the middle section, usually this is where we would find our feedings. We would plow through the middle section here to reveal how our last feeding looked. However, last time we just spread the coffee and worm chow out across the top surface. So we'll see no leftovers of a previous feeding, unless we bump into some large chunks of food. Did seem to me like a good number of worms hanging out in that material too, where the plastic covering was. I guess at this point we're sort of blending more damp materials that are hidden down low, down deep, with materials out near the surface that have had a chance to dry a little bit. It does make me wonder what would become of both of these systems as far as snails go if we were to just leave the plastic covers off. Well, I might give that idea a little bit more consideration, but for now I think we're just going to stick to what appears to have worked pretty well here, which was to just reduce the coverings, allow for a little bit of airflow, and the creation of a little bit of dry material out on the surface that we can blend in with the surrounding stuff. I'm sure deeper materials also benefiting from the exposure to the air. Eventually its moisture is just making its way into other surrounding materials. But then again, I don't know, worm castings do have this tendency to really hang on to their moisture. Let's give this edge over here near me in bin number 2 a quick till, and then we'll be prepared to give them their feeding for the day. Not a very exciting feeding, not a feeding that's going to produce worm parties if you come back a week later or whatever. It's really just a sprinkling of stuff out on the surface. I even thought that perhaps maybe I would try to supplement the paper supply in here, because there's really no bedding whatsoever at this point. I can see a little bit of what was the top coverings, but it seems like even this is stingy as heck. But you know what? Let's just give it to them. It's better than nothing. A little something for them to nibble on. But before we lay that down, those will become our feeding zone indicators. We'll just go ahead and sprinkle a little bit of food down here. I guess keeping it towards the middle underneath where the plastic coverings are going to be, so that the moisture can recirculate there and make it into a place where the worms can certainly come and nibble on foods. Out on the edges, though, as things get drier, I imagine worms are not going to be too interested in hanging out there. Probably the same thing goes for the snails. They don't seem to like the dry either. They seem to rely pretty heavily on pretty damp conditions. So that's about it for our feeding. Back on can come the, well, first before we bring on the plastic coverings, let's introduce these little feeding zone indicators / carbon boost snack. And then this here, oops, how did we end up with worms over here? Probably off the other piece. So let's see, we somehow managed to reduce the size by folding it in this way. And this might even be more of a fold than previously, exposing more of the material on the outer edges to drying, which I think will be just fine. Here too, we'll just, how was this thing folded over? Somehow. Doesn't really matter a whole lot, right? Let's just get it to the approximate size that we want, and we're good to go. Alright everyone, that's it for the video. I got a few things to take care of getting cleaned up and put away, but I'm not going to waste your time with that. That's boring. Before I go really quick, let me just say thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. Alright everyone, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye now.